This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon to an extremely hot summer's day here in the Lowveld at Djuma Private Game Reserve. We were just looking at one of the world's most efficient predators, but I believe it's flown off. So we'll give you, is that a water monitor just swimming across there? Yes, I think it is. So my plans today are to visit the water holes. And of course, it's that time of day now for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome aboard, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And it's a very, very hot today. 31 degrees Celsius and 87 degrees Fahrenheit. But I'm not entirely sure that's correct. Marcel and I checked and it was 34 degrees Celsius here in the Lowveld. My name is Lauren. I do have Simon on camera and we've came to waterhole number 1. I know that the dam cam is not working, unfortunately. It will be soon, we hope, so we can see Gowrie Dam in all its glory. Insects, birds, reptiles, fish, I'm sure, inside, and great big mammals away off in the distance. So I'm very excited to see what today brings, especially around the water holes. Now, before I forget, this is your live safari, so please do talk to us. It's incredibly important. Use the @FC on the YouTube chat. You can use hashtag WildEarth on Twitter or head over to wildearth.tv/explorers and ask your questions or send in your comments there. Make us laugh. It's a very hot day. I have a funny feeling we will start to go crazy. That's nothing new, of course. And we'll be coming to you from many different locations. Kids, if you're watching, we want to hear from you too. It's the Christmas holidays for many people around the world, so please do talk to us and you must email us. Send in your questions to kidquestions@wildearth.tv. Isn't it just beautiful? Full of water and full of life. Okay, so I'm going to slowly bumble towards my next waterhole and you guys are going to bumble off to Ngala.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. We have got a Bateleur eagle for you in a large marula tree. So when we arrived, there were actually 2 of them, but it seems like the one has flown off. How beautiful is this eagle? So my name is Marna, and with me behind the camera is BK. It's a really hot afternoon here as well, and we were lucky enough to find this eagle in the tree. There in the shade there. And it looks like this is the female. It seems like it's the male that has flown off. So if we have a close look at her, you'll notice that at the bottom of the wing there's kind of like a white bar. So she's got like a creamish brown on the shoulder, and then there's that white bar at the bottom. So the females have that white bar, whereas the males don't. The bottom of their wings are just completely black. So that's how we can tell that this is the female. That's about the only difference you can see from this angle, at least. But how beautiful are these colors? Have a look at the face and notice that red and yellow on the bill, as well as those red talons. They really are spectacular. Now, we actually often see these 2 Bateleurs in this tree. They're very territorial, and they also defend their territories quite aggressively. So we see them here quite regularly. They're also made for life. It was so nice to see the two of them together there, but he decided to fly off. At least she stayed. You can also see that she's got a beautiful rufous patch. You can see the sun's just shining through the leaves or through the branches onto that now, but just behind her head she's got this rufous patch on the nape of the neck going onto the back. They really are beautiful. Some people call these eagles the short-tailed eagle. So even when they're sitting like this, I don't know if you can see it clearly, but with other eagles, a lot of the times you'll see that the tails will extend past the wingtips. But with these eagles, they don't. You often see the wingtips below them when they're sitting in a tree. That's because their tails are really, really short. So in flight, you'll see that the talons and the tail will pretty much line up. And that, of course, also makes them a little bit unstable when they're flying. So they've got this wobble to them, quite easy to identify in flight. She's just cleaning herself, preening herself. And this, coincidentally, is also our company logo. All right, I think we're going to continue. We want to try and see if there's something around the waterhole, seeing as it's so hot this afternoon. We're going to send you over to Tswalu.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tswalu. We're currently at Chikudu Dam enjoying a journey of giraffe that just came down to drink. Some of the individuals are still also busy feeding. My name is JP LaRue and behind the camera we've got Davy. Our game plan for this afternoon is to follow up on cheetah from this morning. Hopefully they're still in the area. But in the meanwhile, we're going to enjoy the sighting of this giraffe and watch him having a drink. Often when we do look at giraffes and they form large groups, they actually have no social ties to one another. It's generally because of some form of resource that will attract them to that specific area. It might be food, in this case it definitely is water, and in some cases it might be a number of males that are attracted to a female that are in estrus. But once they've lost interest or have mated with her, or the food is depleted, they'll end up moving all off in separate directions. Amongst females, there's very little forms of dominance. However, when males are in need of obtaining dominance when it comes to a female that is in estrus, they'll often fight it out by prolonged periods of necking, where they'll try and push their opponent off balance. One of the strangest things that we often do find with male giraffes is once they've been fighting, Sloden, you're 100% right. The coats are very pale, and what is quite interesting, they're actually males. So once again, the theory that males are always darker is not always correct, as females can also be much darker than that males are. And it tends to be quite often genetics which determines if you're going to be darker or lighter in color. Generally, the older the individuals are, the darker the coat will become. We're going to stick a little bit longer here at Chikudu Dam, enjoy the sighting of his giraffe, and in the meanwhile, we're handing you over to Andrew.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Chuma Private Game Reserve this afternoon, where we have our lilac-breasted roller sitting in that tree there. My name's Andrew, and I have Marcel on camera this afternoon. So we take a little bit of his time, and we went to see if the butterflies would be still around in the area. Indeed, they're around. Same place, no change. So that it's actually way low down for me to get to feed on everybody there. Maybe later when they get mobile, we'll visit them again. I'm sure they will get mobile. And there was a lilac-breasted roller that was actually feeding, trying to hunt for some insect around here. And here comes also hornbill and a road. And it looks like it's going to be picking on elephant poop for any little beetles. A lot of time, these elephants' dung, they have a lot of insect as well, because these insects feed on dung, and this is the only time the birds, they're also very much interested on searching for these little beetles and all of these insects that is found inside within the elephant dung. So it's actually warm today. We're sitting on 31 degrees, 87 Fahrenheit. It's quite warm already. And I believe that even elephants, you don't actually see much of the tracks or even a sound the whole entire day, where I believe wherever they are, they're probably near the waterhole or in a thicket, trying to hide from this heat. Remember everyone, we're coming live from this position. Remember to talk to us on Wild Earth. Hashtag Wild Earth, also at FC YouTube channels, wildearth.tv/explorer, as well as kids questions at wildearth.tv. And we're going to be communicating that way. So I'm going to link you over to another station.
Right on cue, our bull elephant just walked off. Animals never want to play ball, do they? Yes, I see you, I do. I'm just going to position myself so if he isn't too happy with us, we can leave. I think he's very relaxed. I'm not too sure if this is the same bull we had this morning. It looks very similar. And we always say that elephants can't sweat. And essentially they can't. That's why they have all these other wonderful mechanisms. But there was a study that actually measured heat and moisture, both released by African and Asian elephants. And what they found was that their skin actually opens up at low temperatures, at temperatures as low as about 10 degrees. And this allows them to sort of release heat. So most mammals sweat through sweat glands that are connected to pores, so the liquid can actually come out, which is probably what's happened to Simon and I right now. But elephants only have these specialized pores between their toes. So you can say that they do have sweat glands between their toes, but really other than that they don't sweat. So what they are doing is making their skin quite permeable. And that's why their skin opens up. And therefore they can sort of lose heat in a different kind of way through evaporation to help them cool down. But they do have to drink a lot of water in order to cool down. Very, very high volumes of water, especially in the height of summer. So they don't sweat, although they do have specialized glands in between their toes. They drink a lot of water. They use their ears. They throw mud and water over themselves to go into the wrinkles, and they have specialized hairs that also contribute to heat loss. So they can compensate for not sweating like we are. Isn't he just lovely? Rosalind, I'm not shy. Was that shy, Simon? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Shy. I'm not sure that would be a word that I would apply to any of the wild animals out here. I'm trying to think how to answer this question. I would use the word relaxed for this bull right now, very relaxed with our presence, comfortable with our presence. We've been here for some time. We've given him enough distance. We're not blocking him, threatening him, or trying to take his grass away from him. He's older, so he'll be very familiar with vehicles. The sound, the smell, the sight of a vehicle in his environment. Now, if an elephant was uncomfortable with our presence, they would let us know. They let you know when they're not comfortable, and you have to read the body language, and you have to understand, and you have to leave or position yourself much further away. Now, sort of the word uncomfortable can cover just general not happy with your presence to high levels of aggression, which can happen out here if an elephant is not happy. But shy, I'm not sure I would apply that word to a wild animal. They can be skittish, but that's another form of being uncomfortable and not wanting to be present around the vehicle. This chap here, of course, does not know that he's on camera. Or do you? Maybe you do know that you're on camera, and that's why you're being so delightful. But yes, I would say you can find an animal really comfortable, habituated. Even habituated animals can be uncomfortable at times, and they will let you know. And that's why it's really important to understand each and every individual species, to understand their body language. They will let you know, from a scorpion to a snake to an elephant, leopard. They will really let you know when they're not comfortable. Even domestic dogs. A lot of us have domestic dogs or cats. They will be the same. They will let you know. Okay, as our bull walks away into the thicket, I think we're going to head to our next waterhole.
So we've reached the waterhole, and we have reached the waterhole, and we have found some bee eaters sitting in the tree up there that BK has just framed up for us. We're going to sit here and just listen to some of the sounds. So in the distance there, you can see there are some impalas that also came down to the water. There's some hippos just putting their heads up and down.
Welcome to a very hot and sunny and very still low-felt South African afternoon. We're watching a terrapin staying nice and cool close to the shady waters at the banks of Ndlovu Dam. I wonder what else is going to come around here. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson. Behind the camera is Seb, and you've joined us at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy, Well, as I said, we are sitting at the banks of Ndlovu Dam, which I'm now going to call Ndlovu Lake because it's massive. All the rain that we had has filled it up. And there was some impalas alarm calling behind us a little moment ago, but I think they were just confused. They didn't seem to have any sort of idea what they were alarming for. Maybe they smelt something on the wind. Maybe it was the monkeys that were walking on the dam wall that caught their attention. Who knows? But for now, we're just watching those terrapins just at the water's edge, which are sticking their heads out of the water because they need to breathe. They breathe air. If you hear a vehicle coming, there's another game viewer that's about to come to the dam also to enjoy this lovely environment. But this terrapin here, it's either a marsh terrapin or a serrated hinged. I can't tell very easily when it's mostly submerged like that. But what they're doing is they're investigating the shallow water here at the edge of the dam, because now all this area is inundated. There'll be lots of insects and things which have been, how can I say, submerged by this water and are now stranded on these little vegetation islands. And that's what these terrapins will mostly eat. You can see every now and again, you can see one little terrapin head moving across the vegetation, just looking for some insects, and then you see their bodies disturbing the vegetation at the edges. All these little bubbles that you see popping, quite a lot of those are because the vegetation is submerged. It's still photosynthesizing and it's creating oxygen bubbles under the water. That, plus the warmth of the sun that's now shining strongly, is causing an algal bloom. And algae is not particularly good for many of the aquatic animals that live here. The fish and frogs wouldn't like too much algae because it actually blocks out a lot of the sun, which means less oxygen under the water. But it's not so bad at the moment because there's lots and lots of space in this dam with all the water that's flowed in. And you can see all the slight breeze that's blowing has actually pushed all this algae to this one side. The rest of it is fairly clear. Now you can hear a few spur fowls raucously making noise in the background. Riley, it actually smells quite pleasant. So we're not getting the dam smell right now, but I can tell you that the dam doesn't smell too nice because of all the elephants that poop in it and all the animals that urinate in it. It doesn't smell great, but right now I've got this damp earth smell, and in fact it might even rain a bit later. We checked the weather report earlier, it says it might rain, and so there's a slight hint of something called petrichor, which is that earthy smell you get just before rain arrives. I love that smell. Look at that, petrichor. It's actually a word I learned not long ago. It's one of my favorite smells. So Riley, it's not unpleasant. There are lots of blooming flowers, and the breeze is coming from just over my right shoulder. It's quite pleasant. Not much of a breeze though. It's still very warm and very humid and sweaty. It should rain this evening quite late, maybe 8 or 9 o'clock this evening. We're expecting a bit of rain. Right now I'd say it's probably a little over 30 degrees. What is that in Fahrenheit? Double plus 20 or something? So maybe like 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Somewhere around there. It's not unpleasant in the shade. It's nice just sitting quietly, and there's a few monkeys were on the dam wall a moment ago. They seem to be hiding. I think they're eating some of the berries from the white berry bushes that are fruiting at the moment. I don't know if I can see one that's close to us. Seb, I don't see a white berry bush close to us, unfortunately. Oh, you found a monkey. Oh, there you go. Are you sure, Seb? Somewhere in there's monkeys. They're walking up and down the dam wall looking for the fruits. But in the meantime, whilst we search for these monkeys, we'll send you over to Pinda for an intro.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. And look at what we have found to start off the afternoon. I am so excited. Not too far from the lodge, but it has taken us a while to find her. Myself and Owen have actually tracked her down. How beautiful is that, lying right on top of a termite mound in some beautiful shade. Sorry, my name is Grant, and behind the camera is Owen, and we are super chuffed. We came out to the area where there was a female leopard seen this morning, and we found some tracks of her coming in this direction, and we followed the tracks a little bit, and actually Owen spotted her, so well done to Owen this afternoon, and there she is. Now it is extremely hot this afternoon. It's somewhere around 30 degrees. Arnold, thank you for that question. Regarding the leopard population on Phinda. Arnold, it has in recent years been quite turbulent, up and down a lot. So there is, I'm not too sure how much you know about the research that goes into big cats, but there's a company called Panthera, and they do leopard surveys all around the world where leopards occur, but they do surveys on all different species of big cats around the world, including tigers, pumas, and they've done those studies and surveys on Phinda over the years, and the most recent survey revealed about 25 different adult leopards, so that excludes the cubs that were following mom, and the way that they found that number is by setting up camera traps, so motion sensitive cameras on either side of the road or prominent game paths, and those cameras took photographs as something walked past, and then they would collect the memory cards and analyze those photographs, obviously remove all the irrelevant stuff, and narrow it down using a computer program and algorithm to analyze the spot patterns of the leopards. And from those photographs, they were able to identify about 25 different adult leopards. That was the most recent survey, but it's been down around 18 up to 30. So, yeah, it varies a little bit. At the moment on Phinda, there are 4 females that we view quite regularly because of the fact that they're in areas where it's possible for us to find them. Parts of Phinda, as you might have noticed on the shows, if you've watched in the past, are very, very thick. And so it makes it almost impossible to find them. Or you find them and then really, really tough to follow them if they're moving through that thick vegetation. Alright, so we are going to stick here for a little bit longer, and I'm going to send you off to Andrew, see what Andrew's got.
Great, so we now here on just the southern side of Gary Dam, and then sitting with these, looks like a lone bull elephant at the moment that I can see. It happens maybe it's more, but you know, we just spotted him right coming. Looks like he's going to end up at the dam there for a drink, or, well, it's a lot of water around here, so he's probably had a lot of drinks on his way back into this area. I just mentioned earlier that in this type of warm day like this, most elephants would be either in a shed. You know, we've seen him move quite a lot, shed to another shed, really feed. Like right now, he's actually sitting or underneath of the shade, but busy doing his grazing. There's quite a lot of new fresh grasses that has already grown, take place since we had a rain. Where at least they will be in a shade doing something. Where most of the time when he's in the winter, when in a shade, they have to stand and until they move again. He's probably maybe in a bachelor group. Ada, you want to know what the elephants use to smell? So they use their trunk. So trunk, it's actually only imported, well, useful tool for them to use, which they use it for feeding, but also it's a nostrils. And they use it for drinking as well. And, breathe, which is a nostrils. And they use that to be able to smell. They sometimes raise their trunks up and then trying to smell how far, whether they need for water or they're in need for rejoin other group. And of course, sense of smell is great, as well as hearing as well. A little bit of a poor eyesight though, compared to these antelopes and things. No, it won't be the same. You can see, well, but not as much as these wildebeest and those zebras and most of the day animals then. So he's moving, making his way towards the dam. We'll actually see what he's going to do. It's probably maybe that he's behind the rest of the group, or he's just kind of like the rest of the group are behind him. Whether it's another males that they're behind him, or usually typical bull like this would be males around him. So I'm going to try stick with him a bit, and I'm going to be sending you over to Ntswalo with the cheetah.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We just followed up on the tracks of these cheetahs that were found this morning, and we managed to locate them a little bit further north from the position where they were. This is two brothers that form a coalition. They stick basically together. And what we find is that males that stick together are more successful in actually securing territories compared to single males that will try and attempt to hold a territory. Some of the fiercest battles between males for territories I've actually seen on this property at Tswalu. A few years ago, we were very fortunate to come across 4 cheetahs very early in the morning, and we noticed that it was 2 opposition groups of males. It very quickly ended up in a bloody battle that was just hair and blood, and it soon broke up. And we at one point actually thought that the one male cheetah was actually dead. He eventually got up, and we saw that he was fine, and they limped off, and then actually from there went on to water. So with cheetah males, we often find that they are related brothers. However, in the last year or two, there was a group of brothers that was found in East Africa, or a coalition of males that were found in East Africa, which is entirely unrelated from one another. So as with everything in nature, there's always an exception to the rule. So as we were following some leopard now and pinda, I might just as well point out a few of the differences between cheetah and leopard for those of you that don't know the differences. So firstly, if you look on the face, you'll see those beautiful teardrop markings which we see running down from the eyes, which is a characteristic that leopard does not have. If we focus on the coat, you'll also notice that cheetah have spots. And this is specifically where the name is derived from, an Indian word which actually means spotted. Then if we also look at the anatomy of this animal in terms of a general build, they're much longer legged, longer bodied, and they've got incredibly long and flexible spines which enable them to steer from direction. Unlike leopard, which is much more bulky in appearance, and when we look at the coat pattern, has little rosettes or square-shaped patterns. If we also look at the habitat and general Leopard prefers thicker wooded areas, while cheetah generally prefers more open areas, or they prefer wooded areas with open areas in between. So in general, cheetah will actually run down their prey, and as most of you know that they're one of the fastest animals. There's claims of between 115 and 119 kilometers per hour, which they can reach. If we look at the hunting strategy of leopard, they will generally ambush and stalk, and they prefer much thicker wooded area. Although leopard is incredibly fast, they can probably reach speeds of some 97, 98 kilometers per hour. They will use very fast bursts of speed, but they will really get close to their prey. If we look at cheetah, they tend to run down their prey, but they're also limited in the amount of energy that they can expend when they do run down prey. If they feel that the energy that they're expending is more worth than that they can gain, quite often the prey animal is left. So as these two brothers are working together as a coalition, they also have the opportunity of bringing down larger prey animals. LT, to answer your question, it's very likely that they will stay together for life. They've been together for several years already, and quite often what we do find is normally something like an injury or a hunting accident or conflict with other cheetahs that might end that relationship between the two of them by one of the individuals that maybe might be killed in that process. It's also to give you an idea how long they can live. They pretty much can reach ages of up to 10 years for males, while females tend to reach up to 14 years of age. So the demands of securing territories, patrolling those territories, and defending those territories against other males is much higher on the males compared to a female, which only occupies a home range and has to focus on raising her own cubs. These two boys also spent. Good afternoon, Miss Sunshine. They are definitely endangered animals. And if we look at the International Union for Conservation for Nature's listing, there's less than 5,500 of them left. And the bulk of those all occur in Namibia, followed by Botswana, and the remainder of them in South Africa. Then the remainder of the countries, or where we do find them in East Africa, as well as in North Africa and some of the countries in the Middle East, there's only a small number of them that's present in those countries. We also find one of the major threats to them is that they are often in conflict with other predators. Secondly, they're also quite often in conflict with livestock keepers. And one of my favorite projects, which I know about that they started some 20-25 years ago, was where they were bringing in dogs, which is used to looking after cattle, and they were provided to farmers. And these dogs were given for free to these herders, and they accompany the herders and the livestock. So what they do is their presence is enough to deter the cheetahs from wanting to make a kill. And in areas where these projects are run and the dogs are present, they've brought down fatality with livestock between 95 and 100%. The other reason why their numbers are also limited is quite often with a high pressure on the cubs in terms of cub mortality, especially in the first year. And that's often to do with how cheetah cubs are being viewed. In South Africa, we have a fairly high standard and professionalism when it comes to guiding, and most guides will follow these norms and standards. However, in some of the East African parks where anybody can go on a drive and it's a free-for-all, a lot of pressure is added onto these cubs, and they're often separated from the adults. Another reason why they're also threatened is quite often they are seen as fairly relaxed and easy-going cats, and therefore they will often buy these animals for the pet trade or sell them for the pet trade. We're going to spend a little bit more time with these cheetahs, and in the meanwhile we are passing you back to Pinda to enjoy the leopard sighting.
So we've just come around to the other side of this little thicket that this leopard is lying in to get a look at her face. And she has just flopped over. As you can see, she's lying flat against that termite mound. And Owen is just saying how petite she is. So it will be quite deceptive for you guys, or difficult to make that out. But she is a very small leopard. But it's a female leopard that we know. And she has some unique features on her face. Her spot combination above her whiskers on either side of her nose is 3-3. And as she looks so poor, if you look behind that eye, she's got that little heart shape just behind her right eye. Oh yeah, her right eye, left of the camera, left-hand side of the camera at the moment. And when we were on the other side, we were looking at her tummy, and it looks like she has managed to eat something either during the day or last night. So she has got a little bit of a bulge in her tummy. Perhaps something small with all those little impalas running around at the moment. The last person to see her this morning said she was watching a herd that had quite a lot of lambs in it. Quite unusual for a leopard to be active and hunting during the day. As most, or some of you might know, they are mostly nocturnal, and sleeping like this is what most of them will be doing during the day, but there are of course exceptions. And this female being quite small, she is quite young. We think she was born somewhere early in 2018. So she is approaching 3 years old. And because of her size and her age, I think with youth on her side, she's quite energetic and active. Oh, look at her. Some birds alarm calling behind us. She's just popped her head up to have a look. Bhupendra is asking what the average size difference is between a cheetah and a leopard. So they are quite differently built. A leopard is quite stocky and muscular. Got short legs, but very powerful animal. Cheetah has got very long, thin legs, not as bulky, much more streamlined, built for speed. Leopard is built more for power. So very different in terms of their actual physical shape. But this female leopard, I would say she's probably in the region of about 40 to 50 kilograms, which is kind of normal for a female leopard. Maybe she's a little bit lighter than that. But an adult female cheetah is probably closer to 60 kilograms, so between 50 and 60 kilograms, and then a male cheetah possibly up to 70 kilograms. There's not too much size difference between a male and female cheetah. But then when it comes to leopards, a male leopard is usually in the region of about 80 to 90 kilograms. Some of them have even gone over 100, up into 110, 115 kilograms. So a massive difference there. You see how she's panting. So she's in the shade. Owen and I are in the sun, and I can tell you that it is very hot. But she's got the breeze, she's got the shade, and you see she's starting to doze off again. Panting a little bit, perhaps trying to help her digest her meal. but the termite mound is nice and bare, open sand, so there's no chance of, well, I mean, there is a chance of little insects and stuff bugging her, but less so than if she was lying in some grass, in some long grass. Daniel, that's a very nice question. Do leopards have a specific tree that they like to climb in? I think they do, yes. So this particular female has been seen a number of times in different trees, but a number of times in each of those different trees. There's probably about 6 or 7 of them that she's been seen in more than once. And the same goes for other leopards. So in my experience, I do believe within their territories they have got trees that they prefer to climb in. But when it comes to species of trees, they also have preference. So they, of course, out in the bush, there are trees that have got very nasty thorns. So for example, something like a knobthorn, it's got thorns almost on the entire tree. And that would be very uncomfortable to try to climb up. Whereas a marula, or the biggest tree in this little thicket behind this leopard, is a scotia, so a weeping boerbean. Also, like the marula, no thorns on that tree. And then you get trees with very flaky bark, which would be quite difficult to climb. And the leopard might slip or something like that, so they prefer a tree with very hard and strong bark. And then they definitely choose trees that have big horizontal branches. You can imagine a tree that's got vertical or diagonal facing branches will be quite difficult for a leopard to sleep in. So they want a tree that has got a nice big stem going up, and then big branches coming out from that main stem that go horizontal out from that main stem, because those are nice and flat for the leopard to lie on. So while our leopard has a little snooze here, I'm gonna send you across to a hippo that's out of the water at the moment. Oh, you're still with us. So she is just snoozing at the moment. And like we were talking about earlier, it's typical behavior for a leopard. I mentioned that they are mostly active at night, and so spend the heat of the day resting in a nice shady spot like this. And I was actually just saying to Owen when we first found her how excited I was, because I've just come back from leave. So those of you that watch the show regularly might have noticed that I haven't been on for a while. We've been very busy. We're very grateful on Pinda that our lodges are quite full, and so I've been very busy with guests, but I'm very excited to be back on Wild Earth this afternoon, and very, very happy that I was able to show you this beautiful leopard on Pinda. And it's nice how she's lying on the termite mound with that little bump underneath her head, almost acting like a little pillow. going back to that, what I was talking about earlier on the leopard being more active at night. If you look carefully at her eyes, you'll see that there's almost like a white shadow on the inside of her eye and on below her eye. So on the nose side of her eye and then on the cheek side of her eye. And let's believe that those white patches aid in their vision at night. So the white color reflects light, and so at night when there's any little ambient light from the stars or the moon, that white light reflects into their eyes, and so it helps to brighten it up. But some of you may know also that they've got the tapetum lucidum in their eye, which is that reflective layer, and so the light reflects twice over their retina. So we're going to try again. I'm going to send you across to that hippo and see if we have some more luck this time.
With animals here, we had a hippo out the water at Buffelshoek Dam here, and a little youngster, a calf, come to join it. It was wonderful. It's very rare to see hippos outside the water during the day, at least in this area. Spectacular to see. Their cumbersome bodies almost look like they're grotesquely overweight, but they're not. Short, stumpy legs, huge muzzles. They just look awkward, but unfortunately they've now all submerged, which is normal behavior in this heat, I must say. There's lots of youngsters in Buffelshoek Dam now, which is really, really lovely to see. The bloat is getting bigger. Do you see over here, Simon, just behind us at the other side of the dam? I think it's the yellow-billed stork. It's got its wings completely open, struggling with the heat as much as I imagine all animals are today. Is it the yellow-billed? Yes, it is. Of course, now it's closed its wings, but that's one way to cool down, not only to gular flutter, but also to open your wings and hang them low and just sort of aerate, especially if you go for a dunk in the water to try and cool down, anything to cool down on days like today. But if you're a hippo, you're already in the water, you're already pretty cool. The worrying thing for a hippo on days like today is when they're out the water. They won't spend too long out the water. Their fine epidermis cannot handle that. But when they're in the water, it's perfect. If this dam wasn't so smelly and filled with poop, I would be right in there with them. I'm not sure they would be very happy with that, though. They have incredible senses. They have really good hearing, really good eyesight, and a keen sense of smell. And you'll see when they pop their head up from being underwater, which, yeah, there we go. All three of those senses or organs come up. The shape of a hippo's head ensures that the ears, the eyes, and the nostrils are all on one plane, so that they can pop their head up, just marginally so, and they can hear, see, and smell all in one go. They don't have to bring their entire head out of the body and out of the water, and that's what you can see here. They just literally just pop their head up just a little bit so that they can see, hear, and smell what's going on. They're primarily nocturnal in that they do most of their feeding at nighttime, and therefore they have to be able to see well, especially in the dark. Once that sun starts to set, they'll leave the water body and start feeding on the vegetation surrounding the water body. They'll start foraging. They can go about, you'll never really find a hippo too far away from its own water body unless it's winter, unless there's a deficit of water and there's trouble. Then it will have to move. But otherwise, they can travel about 10 to 15 kilometers away from water. Okay, I think we're going to leave Buffelshoek Dam for now and actually cross into Buffelshoek itself.
Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. Wild Earth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, Wild Earth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. Wild Earth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu, Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite bird has to be the social weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex social arrangements is truly remarkable. And the interconnectedness with the ecosystem shows us that we are too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We're still sitting with the two cheetah brothers at the moment. They're still fast asleep with temperatures exceeding around about 35 degrees Celsius at the moment. It's highly unlikely that they will go anywhere until much later this evening. So by resting in the shade, they're now conserving energy. So generally what we find on warm days in Tswalu is that they will only become active around by 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, and then attempt to hunt. One of my favorite hunts was very close by with the very two same brothers that we are watching at the moment. And the two of them managed to hunt one of the fastest antelopes in Africa, which is known as a tsessebe. It was also my first kill that I've ever seen with cheetah. It's incredible how fast these animals can run, and it's also incredible how quickly they can coordinate with one another and bringing down such a large animal. In general, we find that the female, that we often track as well, tends to take smaller prey animal species, such as young springbok, as well as steenbok. In general, we find that cheetah makes a lot of their kills during the daytime. However, they are active mostly in daytime. It's a strategy that they've developed or evolved to avoid larger predators. On a few occasions, I've also seen them actually active at night, especially on full moon nights. And there's nothing as memorable as actually following cheetah on a full moon night while they're trying to hunt. We also find in some parts of East Africa they have actually become active at night as well and can hunt under full cover of darkness without any moonlight. This seems to be a strategy that they have adapted in areas where they are persecuted by livestock herders. One of the strategies that we've also noticed with the cheetah when they arrived here 5, 6 years ago was that they often used to go into the mountains. So Often what they would do is they would kill in the flat plains areas. Once they're fed, they would immediately move to the safety of the mountainous areas. Good afternoon, AC, and welcome to the show. Just to answer your question on how can I separate males from females. In general, males can reach weights of up to some 60 kilograms. Females tend to be much smaller, in the vicinity of 30. And then we also see that males in general have larger skulls than that females have. And then if you're in doubt, the best way is always to check underneath the tail. Generally, if we have two equal-sized individuals together, it's generally brothers. If you have two individuals together which is slightly smaller than the other, that's generally a male and a female. So once again, you just do have to check very carefully. And obviously, females are often accompanied by cubs. And these cubs will stay with them anywhere up to 22 months before they move on and start doing their own thing. Good afternoon and welcome to the show, RATTRAY. I'm quite sure that they would be able to. However, they're probably going to be a little bit more cautious if it is an area that has a lot of shrub. To answer your question, they'll most likely sleep for majority of the heat, although they're active in the cooler parts of the morning and the later afternoon and also through the evening, especially as we mentioned on full moon nights. But it's difficult to say. It's going to be a lot of different factors that's going to determine how much rest they're going to have. In the winter, they obviously will have less time that they spend resting, as the temperatures are cooler and in their favor compared to a warm day like today, where the heat will sap the energy from them. We're going to spend a little bit more time with these boys and then from there head off and see if we can potentially find the female that was seen in the area this morning. But in the meanwhile, we're handing you back to Pinda where they've got a leopard on.
And welcome back. Not much has changed here, except that this leopard has given us the cold shoulder. But an opportunity to look at a different side of a leopard that you don't often see. If you look at her belly, you'll see she's got that little bit of a bump where it's moving up and down quite quickly, and so she's panting a little bit. That food has filled her belly and actually takes up a little bit of the space that her lungs would usually expand into. So that shortness of breath is due to the fact that she's got a bit of food in her belly, but it also helps with digestion. And that pattern is, for me, just the most incredibly beautiful thing in the bush. Dion is asking if a leopard purrs like a cat. Dion, I must be honest with you, I've never heard a leopard purr, and I mean a wild leopard, and I'm not even sure about captive leopards, but I know for a fact that cheetah purr. I've heard cheetah purring, but leopard I'm not too sure about. I'd have to find out for you, but I highly doubt it. Maybe when they're cubs, but when they get older, I don't think so. They are capable of a very deep growl. I think they would definitely be able to make a purring sound, but actively purring, I don't think so. JC, oh, look at that view. JC is asking if we know who the mother is of this leopard. So, JC, if you were watching earlier, I was mentioning there's about 4 different female leopards that we see on a fairly regular basis. And those 4 leopards are all related. And so we do know who the mother of this leopard is. We've identified her and we refer to her as the Inyoni female. And so some of you may have seen her before. And now this leopard used to have a sister. And her sister, we did see for a couple of months after they became independent of their mother. But unfortunately, shortly thereafter, she was never seen again. And so we have to assume the worst, but you never know, she might have left the reserve. There are a couple of a couple of game reserves in the nearby vicinity of Pinda, and so she may have moved on to a different reserve, but the chances are not very high, unfortunately. The wind is starting to blow a little bit, which is what's prompted her to put her head up like that. She's just checking her surroundings. So I mentioned earlier as well that she is quite a young leopard, and so she will be vulnerable to bigger, dangerous animals. And she is actually still in a portion of her mom's territory where we do occasionally see her mother, and they would fight if they had to encounter one another. We've actually seen her mom steal kills from this leopard. We've seen the mother stealing from her. And then, of course, she will have competition from other females that have territories that border with hers. And if leopards get into a fight, they will, if not, neither of them surrender and run away and give up their whatever they are fighting for, leopards will definitely fight to the death. And back to sleep. You can get a really nice idea now of the termite mound that she's lying on in the bare soil. And it's quite dark in the shade of this tree. So she'll be feeling quite cool. Just while her head's up, if you look under that right eye, so she's got the heart behind it, but there's 4 spots that are linked to one another on her bottom eyelid. another feature that we look out for when we're trying to identify this leopard. Oh. Now stretch and reposition. So her main priority at the moment is just to rest and to conserve energy. She's got a full belly. Last night she was seen patrolling her territory, so walking along the roads and game paths and spraying urine on the prominent bushes and trees in the area. And so she has nothing to worry about at the moment. Alright everyone, so I'm so chuffed that we were able to show you this leopard, but as I'm sure you can imagine, lots of people are very keen to come and have a look at her. So we are going to be leaving her here, and at the moment I'm going to send you across to an elephant.
So we've got a nice elephant bull flapping his ears furiously as he feeds on some of the luscious green vegetation on zebra clearings. See, this elephant was one of the ones that was at the waterhole earlier, covered in mud that's now dried. You can see it's deftly plucking away at some of the vegetation between this large-leafed weed. I'm not sure what this other plant is that's growing here. I've heard people say it's datura, but I don't think it's datura. It's not the one that I've seen before, but I do believe it is an invasive of some sort. But the elephant seems to be very adept at picking out the grasses in between, getting to the nutritious stuff. In fact, all the elephants we've seen so far over the last couple of days have been eating grass. There haven't been many elephants eating leaves at all, because the grass is just growing so thick and luxuriant at the moment. And it's much softer than the branches and leaves on the trees. Oh, it's reaching quite deep in there. I wonder if there's some herbaceous stuff that's down there as well that it's after. That plucking up big mouthfuls. It's amazing, such a large animal needs to eat all day long. It can't really afford to stop for too much. Although with the nutritious grasses that's here, it actually can spend less time feeding than it would otherwise in the winter. But still means most of its day is spent stuffing its face full of grass. What's nice is that they can afford to be quite selective now, because there's so much abundance of high nutrition food. So they can really take their time and walk around to the best. Oh, look, it's got its foot up, it's having a bit of a scratch there. There are lots of, we walked in the grass a bit earlier today, we got a bit stuck. And so we had to get off the vehicle and get ourselves unstuck. And there were a lot of bitey things in the grass, ticks and all sorts of jumping bugs. So I wonder if it's not the same for this elephants. Their skin is thick and tough, but they are still susceptible to certain types of ticks and biting flies. So you will see them often using their trunk to chase things away. Their tail is swishing all the time. And as you saw there, scratching with its foot. Something was just bothering it slightly. I'm actually very surprised to see that there are no things like egrets following those white long-necked birds. Claire, I'm sure they get all sorts of different nutritional, let me try and phrase this correctly. My English failed there for a moment. They get all sorts of nutrition from the grasses. Mostly it'll be sugars and starches that the body is able to convert into the energy that they need. Their digestive system is very different to ours. They would not be able to digest protein like meat, but there must be a certain amount of protein in the food that they eat in order to sustain themselves. So you'll see often they'll eat pods on trees and things. Now pods, especially leguminous pods which have bean, or which are in the bean family, they will have lots of protein in them. And the normal grass that they eat probably doesn't have that much protein in, but they need different varieties of the nutrients that we need. That's why you couldn't eat the same diet as many other things. It's a good question, Claire. I actually would love to read some sort of like a study on what actual nutrients an elephant is getting from different plants that they feed on. I mean, we know they get selective. We know at certain times in different years, we'll see the elephants focusing on certain different types of trees. So we've noticed 7i, because we've had to cut a few of these trees out of the road where elephants have pushed them over. We've noticed that they seem to be focusing a lot on the cork woods. So those are the comiferas, scientific name comifera. And they seem to be focusing on them quite a lot. I don't know what's in the comiferas that they really like, but they seem to be eating a lot of them, or at least pushing them over, probably to get to the roots. I suppose variety, they say, is important. So right now it's eating probably mostly one type of herb or grass, but then it'll move off and feed on something else, I'm sure, to give itself the variety of nutrients that it needs. And we actually saw the other day, we weren't able to film it. I can't remember what the reason was, but I think it was just too thick. But we actually saw elephants climbing into a gully, an eroded patch, and using their tusks to dig at the earth, and they were literally taking clumps of earth and putting it in their mouth. Now that's called geophagia, and that's another way that elephants are able to get some of the minerals that they're missing in their diet. So there were probably lots of salts there in the earth, because it was an eroded patch close to a sodic site. So they were actually ingesting some of that earth. We, as human beings, are not really in touch with ourselves anymore, and so we get cravings and we don't really understand them. So we just eat, whatever we think we want. But the body is actually telling us we need salt or we need, whatever. And that's elephants and other animals are very in touch, so they'll know exactly what plant they need to eat to satisfy the craving that they have. I find it very fascinating, very interesting. And this elephant right now is not using its eyesight to figure out what it's eating. They can see, but I think the grass is too small and it's not... Oh, there's an elephant pushing over a tree. Oh, man. Just over there, if you look over, there's an elephant reaching up, and it tried to push over that massive tree. I don't know what tree it is. It could be an apple leaf, maybe. Let's see if it tries it again. It does look like an apple leaf. Watch this. He might... Oh, he's going to reach up. Oh, this is that big elephant that we were with earlier today, the one that has a slightly long tusks that I think is coming into must. And he put his whole head up and rested his chin, basically, or the bottom of his trunk, on that tree and tried to push it over. Now, what often happens is if they can't push it over from one angle, they'll move over to a different angle and try and push it from the other side. So it could get interesting. It might actually try and push it over. It looks like a marula, now that we've zoomed in on it, which is one of the favorite trees of elephants. Especially now that they've got lots of fruits growing on them, although the fruits are not ripe just yet. In a few weeks, we'll start to get fruits that are bigger and have more nutrients more readily available. At the moment, they're quite green, but that's not stopping the elephants from pushing against it. That might be the other reason why it did that, to try and shake some of the fruits out. Watch this, it's going to push it again. Oh, is he going to go for a run-up? Watch this. No. Classic. The elephant is jealous. Don't steal my thunder. It's my turn for a close-up. So you can still see that tree is moving and shaking there. And reaching up so high into the air is that elephant. One of the only animals, or in fact the only animal that can reach higher in a tree than a giraffe can, is an elephant bull. Well, that was interesting. Really thought we were going to see that massive tree get pushed over. I think it's just a bit too big for that elephant. To put the power of these animals into context, that is a huge marula tree with nice, widely spaced roots. I'll continue my story in a second. Sorry, I didn't quite hear who asked that question, but the question was about how do I tell a male versus a female. I think it was from Eddie or Ellie. The way we can tell the difference. Eddie. Hi, Eddie. Eddie, to tell the difference between a male and a female at this distance is not so easy, but that elephant has very big tusks, and that's quite unusual to have thick, long tusks like that on a female. But also the shape of its head. It's very rounded, the head of that elephant. That's an unusual round head. It would be unusual for a female. And then the fact that it's trying to push over that massive tree, it's a very unusual thing for a female to do. Females generally feed on stuff that's more easy to get to. This male is showing off its size and its strength by trying to push that tree over. And if they were next to some females, you would notice that the size difference is quite extraordinary. Now that is also quite apart from the fact that if you look between the back legs, you will see a penile sheath hanging down like a hammock. It's quite obvious, especially when they get large like this. But as I was saying, this massive tree, this elephant could push it over. If it really put effort into, I'm sure it could if it wanted to. And I think it was just trying to shake the fruits out of the tree. Now, we got stuck, Seven Eye. Oh, he's going to try again. Watch this. Oh, no, he's just going to reach. We got stuck on a tiny stump this morning, and it really caused a bit of damage to our vehicle. And we tried very hard to get unstuck, and we eventually did, but a tiny little stump managed to cause our vehicle, which is a very powerful Land Rover, to become completely, immobilized. And this elephant would have pulled that stump out of the ground with its tusks and its strength very easily, I'm sure. If you can hear, it was going to break that whole branch off. Watch the strength here. Watch this. No! He's being very dexterous. I thought he was going to try and break that whole branch off. The lifespan of an elephant in the wild varies massively. So it can be as little as 45, 50, or it can be as much as over 65 years old. So it all depends on what they're eating. So you can see now there's lots of green vegetation. These elephants are mostly feeding on grass. This very big elephant is trying to get to marulas and the leaves on this marula tree. It's also quite a soft tree. Soft wood, soft bark, soft leaves right now. But in the dry season, these elephants will have to feed on very tough vegetation, and that will actually damage their teeth. They only get 6 sets of teeth in their whole life, 6 sets of molars. And so once those molars are damaged and destroyed, all 6 sets, the elephant will not be able to digest anymore. So in nice swampy areas, elephants that live in the Ngorongoro crater, where it's lots of swampy water around, or in the Okavango Delta, in the parts where it's water all year round, those elephants will live longer than elephants that live in areas, say, like Namibia, where it's dry most of the year, and they really have to feed on some of the tough vegetation. I really wanted to see this elephant show off his strength to us and push over the whole tree, but it seems like he might be finished with that tree now. Frank, in this case it is true. This elephant's ears are flapping a lot, but Frank, if it was a very cold day, if it was raining perhaps, you wouldn't see the elephant's ears flapping as much. And that's just because we're at now, in the full light of the sun, it's quite warm. So it's trying to cool its blood down, which will then cool its body temperature down by flowing through the veins, the cool air passing over and then into the body, lowering its core temperature. But on a rainy day or a very cool day, you won't see it flapping its ears anywhere near as much. It might also do something like this to chase away bugs and annoying biting insects. It's not at all to do with being aggressive. And he is a very chilled out elephant, very relaxed. In the meantime, while we watch these relaxed elephants, let's send you back over to Pinda.
Welcome back, everyone. And we just left that leopard, and we were actually sitting with a dark-capped bulbul, which we noticed had a inflorescence of grass in its beak. So I was hoping that it was going to go to its nest, and then just before you joined us, it flew away, and it's flown quite a distance away. So I don't think its nest is anywhere near here unless it's flown away from us, and then we'll return a little bit later. And then this giraffe walked into the gap through the bushes at the back there, and she seems to be chewing, and she might be chewing a bone. We are a little bit far away and on the wrong side of her at the moment. And above her, interestingly, not often get to see a giraffe, the top of a giraffe's back. Amazing, that dip from her hip to sort of where her rib cage is. Almost like a dent that we can see from this angle.
20, joining the 13.
Thank you, Jerome. Jerome's asking how often giraffe chew on bones. And she's licking her lips, and I didn't see anything fall out, so maybe she was ruminating. And to answer your question, Jerome, there's no sort of frequency to how regularly they chew bones. They move and feed, and when they come across an old carcass or an old skeleton, and there's a bone there that they see, then they will pick it up and chew on it if they feel that they need to. It's not something that they do as like a chore or like a daily activity. So yeah, it's, every few days or so, whenever they come across a carcass. And remember, giraffes do move quite big distances when they're looking for food or as they are feeding. I think what we're going to do is we're going to have to go a little bit forward, and there's a nice gap between the trees there. And she is coming in our direction. So let's see if we can get a look at her. Before we carry on, I want to just show you this is what that little bulbul, I think, this top fluorescence, and what it had done is it had almost folded it like that, and it was holding it with all those pieces sort of stuck together. And I'm sure it's going to take that to its nest, and they make a beautiful little bowl-shaped nest, and it will use that to line the edges of its nest just like that, and make a comfy little spot for the eggs and for forward and see if we can get another look at that giraffe.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're just sitting underneath a camel thorn tree at the moment, which is one of the important shade trees in this area, and just enjoying the sounds that we can hear. The most prominent of those sounds is the cicada, which we mentioned in one of the earlier shows. It's believed that these insects can reach up to 106 decibels in terms of sound, making them one of the loudest insects out there.
We're just sitting here admiring this saddle-billed stork at Big Dam. It's actually not that big, as you would think it would be. So I'm going to give you some beautiful views, and we're very close to the Mangaleti border. Or boundary, sorry. We've decided to come up here, venture far north, and see what we can find. Do something different. Now, please forgive me, everyone. I completely forgot to update you on my morning. If you were on the sunrise safari, you'll know that we ended with the Talamatis running into the bush, contact calling and running into the thicket. About 67 seconds after drive ended, they killed an impala. It was remarkable. An adult impala, but still, that's not enough for the entire pride. Just about 60 seconds after drive ended. And the entire area, within seconds, was absolutely swarming with vultures. There were so many white-backed vultures in the area immediately, right on point. And that kind of goes towards what I've always been saying. I really do feel, yes, they're aerial scavengers. Yes, they can fly great distances. They ride the thermals. But I really do believe that they follow the lions. They follow them by eyesight, so they don't need to be right next to them. Some sources actually suggest that vultures can see a 6 centimeter, sorry, I don't know what that is in inches, object from 1 kilometer up in the sky. So 1 kilometer up, they can see a 6 centimeter object. And a vulture's eyes actually have 2 lenses. So the first lens allows them to see the broader landscape, almost like a fisheye lens, if any of you have done some underwater photographer. And the second allows them to magnify objects. So their eyes are very unique, and they're very large in comparison to the size of their skulls. And that's always a key giveaway that the species in question relies on vision. If the eyes are large in comparison to the skull, it sort of allows for a bigger image to form on the retina, which will provide more detail. So I think they just follow the lines. I think whether they follow the Nkuhumas or the Talamatis, they know exactly where the lions are. They know that the lions will kill prey big enough for them to scavenge. An impala lamb's not really going to cut it, but a buffalo will. So please forgive me for forgetting to update you on that, but the Talamatis did kill. I believe Andrew's going to spend some time with them a little bit later. I think the impala's long gone. I'm not sure if the vultures are still around. So So Klangula crossed in from the Mangileti side, which is probably my actual intention for being here. So we're going to continue scratching around and see if we can see any signs of that handsome leopard. And we're going to send you guys back across to a giraffe.
So we did manage to get a look at one other view of this giraffe. And it looks as though she's limping. You see that left leg, how she was just lifting it up a little bit? So she is favouring a little bit, trying not to put all her weight on it and lifting up every now and then. I think when a piece of grass or dirt maybe pokes the wound. I was looking with binoculars, I couldn't see anything. There's nothing visible, no visible injury on her foot. So maybe it's inside her ankle or something. See when she walks? There we go. So I'm not too sure what happened to her. The landscape in Phinda is quite hilly and rocky. There's some sections where there's lots of rocks on the hillside, and maybe when she was running away from something, one of those rocks caused her to sort of roll or sprain the ankle joint on her foot. If it is a wound, you can imagine it'll take quite a long time to heal, because it's got to just happen by itself. A giraffe is not able to, like a cat, for example, the giraffe is not able to lick the wound to keep it clean. Wiley, thank you for the question. If a giraffe breaks its leg, will it just die? So it will unfortunately be a long process, but it will eventually die. But it's not like it's just going to give up and lie down and surrender. If it has a broken leg, it will persevere, it will try to walk, it will, like this giraffe, protect that injured leg for as long as it can. But of course, with an injury, any animal that's injured out in the bush is much more vulnerable to predators. And so if that bone, so the wild animals are incredibly tough and resilient, and they do recover very well, even from something like a broken bone. And it happens much quicker than it happens with humans. And so her bones would fuse again together, of course depending on the break, but usually it's able to heal. And if she's able to avoid predators for that time that it takes for the bone to heal, then she will survive. But of course, during the time that she's injured, there's a high chance of her being caught, most probably by lions. And the lions on Phinda do like to catch giraffe. Jerome asking if giraffes are endangered. They are considered as a threatened species on the endangered species list, and the reason is due to loss of habitat. So the areas and land that is suitable for giraffes to live in is being depleted by people, by development. And so if it continues the way that it is going, then possibly giraffes may become endangered. For now, their population is quite stable. but in the future they could be, well, they are considered as a threatened species, so it could change in the future. But for now, their population is really, really good. And especially on Phinda, there are lots of giraffes. I can't remember if it was Jerome, but the question that came in about the big cats purring, I did have a look in my mammals book, and it says that the big cats cannot purr. They can roar, so they have their different variations of roaring, but they are unable to purr, and that's the big cats. So big cats that can roar cannot purr, but the big cats that do not roar or have a vocalization, those ones are able to purr. It looks like our giraffe is going to keep going behind the bushes there. So I'm going to send you across to Andrew and see what he has.
Thanks, Grant. So, at the update, I went to refollow where Kalambala last went this morning into that drainage line system. And then I found her, but looks like she's got a impala kill. It could be that impala that she had the other day, and then we thought she'll finish it, but because it's already smelly as well, so it's not actually a fresh kill from today. And so yeah, I'm gonna send you over to Lauren.
Let him come to that. We do have a jackal here for you. Somewhere. I think there's a den somewhere around here. Go ahead, Simon. It's a youngster. Not a pup, but definitely a youngster. I think it's a black bag. There you go. Hello. But I see jackals regularly here on the Mangileti boundary, and I think there's a den where, I do not know. But there's quite a few of them. Part of the Canidae family. One of 34 extant species. If you've ever seen the Ethiopian wolf, the Ethiopian wolf looks like a big ginger rufous jackal. It's gorgeous. They're very closely related, of course. I think it's a blackback. Blackback are more common out here than side stripe, but we do get both. Have we lost a Simon? We may stay here a little bit longer, as I heard there's quite a few running around, but for now we're going to send you across to elephants in Pridelands.
So whilst that jackal is disappearing, an elephant was appearing here in Ndlovu Dam. We left those bulls feeding in that open area and came back to Ndlovu Dam just to see on this hot day if something would arrive, and it seems something has. There's one lonely elephant bull. It's come down. It came down the steepest part of the bank and it's now standing in the water, but I actually wondered if it would go in. It's been cold the last few days. I wonder if the water's not very pleasant. Oh, I thought there was a crocodile for a second, right there in front of the... Even Seb thought it was a crocodile. I thought we're about to see a bit of a battle between a crocodile and an elephant. I think it's just a piece of wood that's floating there. Or is it? It does look... Oh, this is the elephant with the short trunk as well, it looks like. Missing just the tip of its trunk. Doesn't seem to stop it from being able to suck up the water. Spray it into its mouth. No problems there. It's just that little dexterous piece at the end which is missing, which is exactly something that could have been caused maybe by a crocodile when it was a very young elephant. Or anything with sharp teeth, really. Still exerting excellent control over what's left of it. I think it's like anyone who ends up missing a finger or a hand or something, you learn to deal without it. Just adapt, right? I've seen an elephant with a trunk half the length of this one before in the northern part of Kruger, but there it's most likely to have been caused, unfortunately, by human activities. Poaching is very prevalent in those areas bordering Botswana and Zimbabwe. Down here, not so much, thankfully. A lot of effort put into the protection of wildlife in the Greater Kruger National Park. Means that these animals luckily face very little poaching pressure. Oh, didn't like whatever was at the top of its trunk there, just sprayed it out. LT, I do have a favorite elephant, and I haven't seen that elephant for a long time, and it makes me very sad, but Limpy. There was an elephant that we nicknamed Limpy. He used to hang around in Lowood Dam a lot, about 6 months ago, maybe a bit less, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And he was always with another large elephant bull that, if you'd been watching for a while, you'd also know, Kumo. So now we've seen Kumo a few times, but not Limpy. Now someone mentioned, maybe one of the students mentioned that they might have seen Limpy at the camp here recently, the last few weeks, but I was unfortunately not around, so I didn't get to see him. But that elephant has got so much character. I mean, elephants, generally speaking, exhibit very, very distinct personalities because they're intelligent animals. And so we can really know and notice what they like and what they don't like and how they behave in certain situations. And because of this dam during the winter, there's elephants here every single day. And so we really got to notice this elephant. And what was interesting to watch was that because he had this very short back right leg, I don't know how it happened, maybe at birth or when it was very young it got broken, but it had a very hectic limp, and it couldn't keep up that easily with the other elephants, and it wasn't growing as big as some of the others. And so they used to push him around quite a lot. But it was always so interesting to watch how this elephant would push back and not let it get him down. And I thought it's actually... Oh, quickly, there's a leopard at Phinda.
How amazing is this, guys? There's another leopard, and she's drinking water there at the moment. And I can't believe it, but it's actually the mother of the leopard we were just with. So that is the Nyoni female. And we've had some rains recently, I'm sure some of you might know. And I think on top of that boulder that she's on at the moment, there's a little puddle or pool of water. And so she's just having a drink. As we saw her, she was scent marking, which is... Yeah, go ahead, Matt. I'm at optional main road. Copy. And she is beautiful. I think she might carry on, but what we're going to try and do, we can get a little bit closer. So I'm going to try and move us a little bit closer, because where she was heading, it's pretty rocky, and so we don't want to lose her. So I think let's try and get a closer look while she's up on that boulder. That is amazing. Oh my word. Oh, Brody, thank you for the question. So I don't want her to move. So while we've got her face, quickly look at on either side of her nose, next to the nostrils, she's got some spots that are just above the whisker line. So you'll see on the left side she's got 3, right side she's got 3 as well. Then we look for other unique spots on her and patterns on her face and body. And so the daughter, the Ntabonkosi female that we were with, she's got a heart behind her right eye. This leopard, oh look, she's quite dirty. I think in this area there's been a herd of buffalo and it looks like she's been rolling in buffalo dung. That's why she looks dirty and a little bit damp. And she's turned her back on us, so I can't show you any more of those features, but there are unique markings on her face that show us or that we use to identify the different leopards. So it's based on the unique spot patterns that each leopard has. Her whole neck is wet. It's amazing. She would have rolled in that buffalo dung to try to mask her own scent. And it looked as though she had not eaten. And so rolling in that dung would be a way of concealing herself, masking her own scent, so that when she hunts, her prey might smell the buffalo instead of her. And the direction that she's looking at the moment is quite a drop, and there's a little valley down that side. And she'll be using this vantage point to scan across the valley and try to spot any prey. What's really crazy is I can actually see the bush where her daughter was, where we were sitting with the Ntabonkosi female. Oh, and if you go into that gap, oh, there she goes down the rock. If you go into that gap while we're sitting here, and you go a little bit closer, or you zoom in a little bit, you'll see a tree with a white, that's almost white in color. And directly above there's a thicket or a tree line. And that's exactly where her daughter is. And she's just gone down the rocks now to the other side. And so now the fun begins. We're going to see if we can try to get another look at her. Luckily for now, we don't have to move out for any other cars. And so we're going to try and stick with us. Hope nothing happens to our signal, but let's see if we can get another look at her. So as I mentioned, she was on a little bit of a territorial patrol when we first saw her. She was lifting her tail to the bushes and spraying urine. There is another road down on the other side. But the other ranger that joined us, he's going to go around the back, and we're going to go around this side, and we will stay in contact over the radio. And if he manages to find her, he'll let us know and we'll do the same. Askia, I agree. She is beautiful. And she is, in fact, for me, the most beautiful of the leopards that we see here on Pinda. Hold on for the bumps. It's very rocky here. This is what I was talking about, where that giraffe might have hurt itself. I'm going to sit down as well. Oh, there she is. Gonna try and get her through the bushes here. She's camouflaged beautifully. I couldn't agree more. I think I've been on Wild Earth for about 3 or 4 months now, and I'd only shown you this leopard once, and today to show you 2 is incredible. Feel really, really special. He's got a little bit of an angry face, but look at that white of the tail sticking out. See her ears tucked back. And she knows there's almost like a little bit of a wall behind her, so that rock directly behind her is where she was lying on top of. And so she's got her ears pinned back, just listening if there's anything coming from that side. Yeah, Marka, I actually do. I agree with you. I think she is smaller. Haven't seen them together, but for obviously around about a year now. But when her daughter left her, she was very, very similar in size. And for the first couple of months when they were found separately, it was a little bit confusing because we hadn't quite nailed the identification, those identifying features and spots on the face. So there was quite a bit of confusion because that the daughter was such a similar size and look, and she was always found within mom's territory. So they were quite often confused. But her name also refers to her size. So her name, or the name that we refer to her as is Nyoni female, is Nyoni is a Zulu word, and it means a bird. So referring to how small she is. And there's also a road in Phinda named Nyoni, and so it was a combination of the two. But yes, Marco, she is quite small. And back down again. Yes, Keegan, this is extremely special. Leopards are really, really tough to see on Phinda. It's a combination of a few things, but I think for me the main reason is that the vegetation and the bush is so thick in Phinda that leopards, being quite shy and elusive creatures, if they hear something unusual in their surroundings, their instinct is to hide. And it's really easy for them to hide on Phinda because of the thick bush. And so it takes a long time for them to get used to cars. And so 10 or so years ago, if you saw a leopard on Phinda, it would run away from you. And I guess a little bit of luck contributed to it, but this female leopard's mother was found with a kill, and she was quite tolerant of the vehicle. She moved away at first, but then slowly started to get a little bit more comfortable with the vehicles being around. And then she was found a few more times, and each time she got a little bit more comfortable around the cars, and then she had this leopard as her cub, and the cubs feed off mom's behavior. So if mom is relaxed around the cars, the cub will do the same. And so this leopard has grown up her whole life around the cars, And so it's slowly changing, and the leopards on Phinda are passing down from generation to generation the fact that the cars are not a threat to them. But the reason on Phinda for not seeing a lot of leopards, there are a lot here, we see tracks of them all the time. It's just it's so easy for them to hide and to run away from us, which is their instinct if they haven't seen many cars. Sorry if I rambled on a bit there. I'm just in awe. I'm so excited. So we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to just sit with her and see what she does from here.
Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Oh, you caught me mid-chuckle. These chakma baboons are highly entertaining. We have a mother in the background there who was suckling her little offspring, who's right at the foreground. And what appears to be this big, large male just walked in, shoved the offspring to the side and sat down and started demanding to be groomed. Ah, baboons. Grooming builds a relationship, though. It's actually very important, not only for really hygiene, although they do have sort of fingers that they can pluck insects and ticks out with themselves. It's easier when someone else does it for you, especially in all those tricky places. This is a large troop, and baboons are considered terrestrial primates. Non-territorial, but terrestrial instead of arboreal. They spend most of their day on the ground, and yes, they take to the trees to sleep, and of course they take to the trees. What are these two doing? What are they doing just lying on the ground like that? They take to the trees if there's danger, but generally speaking, they're terrestrial. You'll find them more on the ground than you will in the trees. This one in the foreground has just collapsed. Like too many drinks yesterday for Christmas Day, one thinks. And although living in a group brings a lot of benefits, rather than being solitary, it also has its disadvantages. There will be competition between individuals for food, social rights to food, and And the more dominant ones in a troop of baboons will automatically get access to the best spots. Because it's like a ranking system, not too unlike the hyenas, I guess. And if you are slightly submissive and not a dominant individual, you can actually try to persuade the more dominant individuals. Form an alliance, build a friendship with the dominant individual, and then of course it's more likely going to allow you some first-class feeding because you're the friend. So it's very complex social structures in these baboons. Victor, we only get the chakma baboons here. And I'm not sure if you get the olive baboons in South Africa as well. When I was in Ethiopia, we spent a lot of time with the olive baboons, but I'm not entirely sure if they're present in South Africa. Sorry, I can quickly check for you, I think, on my Mammals app. But I know in this area, in the sands, the chakma baboons are the only ones that we see out here. They've got quite a South Africa-wide distribution, and it extends north as well. You'll find the chakma baboons almost all the way up to Ethiopia, actually. The olive baboons are quite similar looking. I would say they're bigger, and they do have a slight olive colour, in case you couldn't have guessed that already. And the mandrills, have you ever seen the mandrills? If you've not, please Google them. Highly endangered species, very unique primates that are found up in Nigeria. Struggling in the wild, but they have got various captive areas for them. And Google them, you'll be absolutely astounded at how beautiful and the coloration of these animals, the mandrills. Limited distribution. No, the chakma baboons here have quite a wide distribution in Africa. And because they are non-territorial, they really can roam here. We're on Buffelshoek, but they could easily roam down to Djuma, up to the Mangileti, anywhere they wish, actually, as long as there's no fence. Johnny, you're asking about the lifespan of the chakma baboons, and in the wild it's anywhere between 20 to 30 years. So it's quite a long lifespan. You can hear the Egyptian geese. But yes, it's anywhere between 20 to 30 years. They do have predators, leopards, crocodiles, birds of prey, especially your eagles, possibly lions. Lions definitely would, and maybe even hyenas. So they have got predators out here, and it can get very aggressive between the males as well. They can fight and do serious damage to one another. But sort of the maximum age is around 30 years. It's actually the youngsters that act more aggressively than the adults. The more aggressive you act as a male, you will rise in the ranks more quickly. And they can disperse as well from their natal troops. So if they decide to disperse and they find another troop, they may actually stand a better chance of becoming the dominant male. You want to be the dominant one. You want to get better access to food. You want to get better access to females. The more females, the better. Okay, we're going to really leave Buffelshoek now, head to the hyena den, and we're going to send you across to Andrew.
Great. Good luck, Lauren. So what we discover here, the bird that you see right on the top of these dry leadwood in this very beautiful waterhole, it's called sacred ibis. Sacred ibis. No, we got to hide it ibis all the time. And there's the bird that we don't see often. But looks like a pair of them in there, perching for probably the way, I think, hunting around here. And they would feed on pretty much anything they got, like those worms, which is usually around the water, small fishes as well, kind of like beetles they will go for. And they're so pretty, which you can see how long a beak they have, very long beak. So as I was giving the update about that lumber, I managed to went down to one of the drainage line, and then I find her, but it's actually not easy for everyone to get in. It's very wet. We'll get stuck there. So it's actually closed lock. We know she has a kill, that is a young impala, which I believe is that a kill that was hosted up in the tree between camp there at Juma 2 days ago, because of a still smell a little bit. And then in this area where I came in now, there's a chance we may actually see the Tandi, the leopard. I was actually just waiting to get into that sighting where I'd taken a standby already. And the last update to say that she's heading our way, which we right in this dam. So anytime I might actually go there just to see if we can get a visual for everyone. So that's an update. The lines, I think there seems to be moved further away where I can't even get more or a signal where they have went in, so I can't attempt to go there again. So I'd rather spend time in this area. Hopefully that Tandi should show her beauty towards us sooner. So most of these ibis that you see, they're always near around the water hole. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to try to see if I can go back to that leopard. I'm going to be sending you over to Pinda with the leopard.
Welcome back, everyone. And you're just in time. We're still with the same leopard, and she's climbed down from a rock. She's gonna walk right past us. I thought she might go in between the two cars, but she's just gone past us. There's another little rocky outcrop just on that side of us, and what she's doing at the moment is she's going up onto the rocks and then scanning in the direction that she's going. So she's going basically from vantage point to vantage point. We're not too sure. Maybe she's spotted something in the distance. Her eyes are far better than ours. Oh, look at her ears. Owen, if you can get her now, I think she spotted... Oh, she's just gone behind the bush. She spotted something. I think she had her ears tucked right up against her head. But it might have also just been as she was cresting this little ridge. She doesn't want her ears to stick up over the top of the ridge, so she will tuck them back against her head so as to conceal herself as much as possible. Otherwise, if she lifted her head up with her ears poking up, her ears would break the horizon, and then when she lifted her head to the height where her eyes could see over the horizon, her ears would be much higher and stick out a lot more. So if there was something just on the other side of the hill, it would spot her quite quickly. Oh, and she's just taken off down the hill. So once again, please hold on tight. We're going to try to find her again. It might take us a little bit longer this time, but we're going to do our best. I think for now, I'm going to send you across to Pridelands with a lion, and we are going to try to stick with this leopard and see if we can find her again.
Hey everyone, how's it going? We've managed to find a lion. Well, actually we didn't find this lion. One of the other guides out on safari found this lion sleeping in these bushes. I don't know how... Oh, what have you heard? Oh, he's covered in blood as well. He's got a carcass around here somewhere. I think they mentioned that it was a warthog. We only saw the carcass briefly. This lion actually went and moved into this thicket as we arrived. He sort of got up and moved and lay down there. But you can see that he's a little bit bothered by something. I think it's the flies that are maybe coming around the carcass now. It's very warm. So there's lots of buzzing around, but it's so great to see a lion here on this part of Pridelands. So we haven't seen one for quite some time. Actually not too far from the eco-training camp. This is Ndlovu drainage line. So the same drainage line that feeds into the dam. And this is a young male lion. One of the two young male lions that we have seen before. One with a limp and one without. Although I haven't been able to see if this one is limping or not. But it's a good part of Pridelands for this lion to take up residence, because it's not so full of other lion activity in this corner over here. So this young male lion might set up a bit of a territory here, which we're hoping it will, because the lioness Lagatha that you've all seen in the past, she's also been spotted this morning. Not so close to where we are, but she could move into this area, and that could be very interesting. But in the meantime, whilst we watch the sleeping lion, we'll send you over to Andrew with his leopard.
Thanks, Mike. So, like we talked about the Thandi the leopard. So we eventually come back to join the sighting over here. As you can see, it looks like whatever she's looking at there, probably these are birds. But on the road, it was a water monitor lizard that was moving towards her. And if she ever moved in that direction, I think I see some of the spare fowls in there. Probably one of the francolins. That is actually, they're coming her way. But you can see the tail is wagging like that. So it's probably, she's very much, whatever she's seen here, she's probably too sure about it. And she spent a lot of time probably in and out of this area, but further back into Torchwood. And that's where she spent time there. And then when I spoke to the guide over here, they say that she was in that last position where this buoy was yesterday. And she was in that very spot, sniffing around, before she come into this position over here. It's still quite a light, daylight for leopard. Well, lions, see them move as well. When there's a light, when they have a choice. Len, you want to know how long leopard can go without food. So leopards, for sure, they don't have to, survive on a bigger prey species. They hunt birds quite a lot of time, and they would hunt for lizard, they would hunt for anything smaller, like squirrels, mongoose, just to gain energy and get on moving. So, but roughly without, food completely, maybe for 3-4 days. And then, of course, for that, they need to hunt desperately. So, but I'm not sure how long, they can hold that without food until they die. James, you're right. It's the queen of the hunt. You're very great there. You're very correct. She's actually a successful cat, this leopard. Even though we don't spend a lot of time with her this time, but we know she's machinery. And this is how Tlalamba learned from her. Because also, we know for sure that she is actually killer. She is. Every time when she do her hunting, she kills. As now we speak, she's on a kill. We just couldn't get in there because it's wet. And it's a result of us getting stuck there. Or 3 cars at a time may get stuck there. Trying to help one another. It's soaking wet. But it's cool that she's no longer moving in the Juma area, where Gary Dam area, where now her daughter is dominating that area. And it's so cool that she has to make that decision. Since knowing her daughter, she needed places to roam around freely herself. And politely, she actually made that decision to give that whole portion of Juma upwards. Even though we see sometimes, that Shidulu comes quite often into Juma and end up somewhere quarantined and return back west again. The territory of these cats can overlap. But that's not a problem, and when they meet on a boundary line, it's all about behavior that you see happening there. A growl take places. So let's enjoy the silent moment with Thandi. I know there's 2 vehicles on the side, but let's concentrate on the sound physically. Anna Marie, you're very correct. It's amazing, but it's also so important for us when every time we show leopard on a shore, and then of course, because we're in this woodland, and every time when we look, we could look continuously for these animals' tracks every time, but every time you find it, or without the tracks, and you actually it's such a luck of you doing that. But sometimes, we spend a lot of times, tracking their track down until we find them, or not to find them sometimes, because so many of a boundary around here, especially in the sands, because it's a private game reserve. There's another car now is moving out, so probably going to take another moment of silence, just to witness all birds call behind her. Hyena boy, so you want to know what the Thandi means. So it's actually kind of it means love, but it's not actually Shangani, which I'm Shangani. So it's kind of like a Zulu, Swazi word. Thandi means love. Okay. But it's normally, in Africa, it's a name for a woman, a girl's name, or female, Thandi. So not a lot of time on the male is a Thandi name, but female most, quite a lot of them. So there where she's looking at now, I'm not 100% sure. The road is quite far slightly. If she may be seen, it was also impala in that open area. So I'm gonna stay put here while I'm sending you over Lauren with the hyena. Alright, cool, it's cool. Well, I still have this beautiful Tandy over here. Beautiful, so I still have Tandy right in front of me. So, like I said, there was an impala on the open area, also some water buck as well. And then it had happened, maybe she's seen them there because she's looking right in the open area. It's way too open for her. She's gonna have to wait for any possible chance that if there's a chance this antelope going into thicket, and then she's going to approach them. But doing that also, oh, kill, drop her, kill. So for all viewers, it's very sensitive sighting we're going to witness now as you see the caught. She looks like she caught in a scrap hair. So for the young and the sensitive viewer, so this question is that we're going to watch her feed right now. So sorry about that. Just gonna reposition. Wow, it was so quick. But she got a little bit of a, not much, but just to get an energy like we were talking about these animals, you know, not to rely on a big kill. There's a car in front of me, so I'm gonna try go around. So I'm gonna put the other car on a frame, but she's moving into that open area. She's carrying it away right now, so she probably, I'm not sure what is her idea. Maybe she's going to feed on it while we're around here, or she's going to take it back. We know she had a cubs right now, which we believe they are in Torchwood right now, or could be around in this area that I'm not sure about. More be lucky enough actually for us to see what is going to be happening if she ever take it back to their cubs. Now she's approaching this direction of where the impalas are. I don't think she will worry too much about them anymore because she got what she needed. We'll try and maneuver here because everyone, there's two vehicles with me, and sometimes we're trying to pan the camera away from everyone, not to be on the frame. But let's be patient enough. We're going to have a visual soon of her. So she still have it there. As you can see, it's hanging right on her mouth. Poor scrub hair. She looks hungry to me as well. She's looking at the back. Can hear all the water buck calling from the background, so that's probably they can see her. So I'm going to move again, so get another position. Normally, if she kills something small like scrap hair, these type of lizard, mongoose, she would feed on them. But now she's carrying it away, so we're not sure. She might maybe surprise us, maybe head back to the cubs. or look for a place where it's comfortable, and then she'll feed from there. The tail is up. Usually when you see that, it's when they get spotted, and maybe they don't want to hunt that animal, they will put the tails up. Sign for these animals saying that I'm not going to hunt you, so just going to walk between this car. Poor tracker sitting on that front of it car. All right, everyone, let's reposition again. And hopefully we get her on the other side.
Welcome back to Ngala, where we have just relocated the Birmingham Pride. And we've arrived here just at the right time. Just see them starting to show signs of movement. A lot of birds also starting to call around us. We're just going to sit here and take this in for a moment. So the sun has just started setting behind us. So this light on these lines, it's so beautiful. I was just saying that they're just showing signs of movement, but it looks like they're laying back down. We are, however, going to stick with them and see what else they get up to.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We just managed to find this mother with 3 cheetah cubs with her. And as they've been moving, we've noticed that she's actually watching a small group of springbok, which is probably some 800 meters away from us. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide her with plenty of space and opportunity to do what she needs to do without giving her position away or either without disturbing the springbok. So let's just see what she gets up to. So by the looks of it, what we can see, these cubs are definitely somewhere in the vicinity of almost 6 months of age. So generally up to 2 months of age, it's very easy to actually age them, as their coat pattern resembles that of a more aggressive honey badger. It seems that this is a deliberate tactic they evolved to be seen by other animals as a more aggressive animal, and therefore other predators might overlook them. So I'm quite sure that she's in need of a meal. And we just looked at her stomach as well before she went to go and lie down. And it seems as if she hasn't had a meal for at least a day or two. So hopefully she gets lucky, because I'm sure that it's an incredibly high demand on her in terms of energy in raising those little ones. So quite often they will actually follow the mother to very close towards the prey animal, and then they will just fall behind, go and lie behind a bush, and she will eventually do the last little bit of stalking until that she feels that she's in the right distance to start running, and then from there attempt to make a kill. It's generally incredibly fast when they do run, As we already mentioned, they can get up to 115 kilometers an hour. And it's normally quite chaotic in terms of a number of different animals scattering all over the place. And then she's got a split of a decision to decide for which animal she has to go for. So in general, if we do look at the female cheetah, they do carry for approximately 95 days gestation period. They can have anywhere between 1 and 6 cubs. Just as with other large cats, they are born with their eyes closed, and generally by 6 or so days, the eyes will go open. They generally also hidden for a short little period of time, and then afterwards they'll start following mom. So one of the things that I found particularly interesting about this female, when I viewed her just around about a year and a bit ago, it might be the same female, but it was an interesting behavior where there was a lot of young impala lambs, and what they were doing is that they were actually stunning these little springbok lambs, my apologies, and then she would take these springbok lambs to the very young cubs, who will then start playing with them and learning essential skills which is necessary for hunting as adults. At the moment, she's very patient about what she's doing. She deliberately went to go and lie down there in the shade, made sure that everybody relaxes, making sure that the sun is directly behind her when she starts making her approach. She was definitely having a good look at the springbok in the distance. So just let's give her a little bit more time and see what she gets up to. There's one of the little cubs having its head up, having a look around. Flutter, you're right, they are growing up quite quick. And as what you're probably aware, they do provide quite a high energy demand on the mother. And although it's only 3, you can still think that it's still quite a lot of little mouths that need feeding. We're just going to spend a little bit more time over here, watch them, see what they get up to. And in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Lauren, who is currently viewing hyenas.
From cheetahs to spots of a different kind. Everybody's very sleepy. We've got Ribbon in her throne at the back. She's always there. I think the sand has sort of imprinted to the shape of her bottom. And I think this is Antima, just at the front here on the right, Simon. But perfect ears, and just from that pattern that I can see running down the side of the body, I think it could be Antima. Quickly over to Tandy.
Thanks everyone. So we got this cat here still making its way. Now we're far east of where we were. And she's still carrying that scrub hair away. just now on the road, so we still have time to actually follow her just to see how far she's gonna go. And just gonna reposition again. She's moving into one of the river where we'll see how it goes from there. It's easy for us to able to keep the visual for everyone. It will be very much interesting. See, impalas, you just walk a void, which they're also still giving a lot of alarm call that they're seen as dangerous. But see, now she's moving towards Garimain. So we are on Milowanin here, heading straight north, where we believe she's gonna head crossed into Torchwood. Then from there, for me to follow, it's gonna depend if there is no other vehicles in that area. So we'll find out. I would really appreciate if there's no other vehicle there, so that I can follow to see how far she's gonna lead us into. Keep up with her, so we'll give each other space here. As you can see, 3 vehicles trying to view her before she move into the area where it's sensitive for. If she's gonna head into the cubs, it's gonna be also controlled. So while we're following her, let me take you back to Lauren again.
It's all very peaceful here and I love it. We've been driving a lot today trying to explore Bufosuk and look for any signs of Klangula. We found Hart on the Talamati remains of the kill that they had this morning. And she's very much feasting away quite happily. We tried to go live, but she just wandered off. There really wasn't much remains. I think she was just attracted to the area by the smell. So Corky's daughter was out as well when we first arrived. I've not seen Corky at the den since coming back, as I've mentioned, and I would really like to. She's been seen on the dam cam, and what we've got to remember as observers is that hyenas are nocturnal. So this den could be active in a big, huge party all night long. It's probably the best party in town, to be honest. And maybe Corky comes at some point in the night. She definitely wouldn't come today during that phenomenal heat, that's for sure. But it's very possible she visits at 3 a.m. So just because we don't see her, she's definitely been seen on the dam cam. Very, very lucky with the den these days. Just before I went on leave, I was coming every day and seeing nothing. This sort of perks up a little bit in terms of activity. And if this isn't Tima, I'm sure it is. She's the one we have a big fat question mark over. Very pronounced nipples. It's obvious that she's either lactating or preparing to lactate. So Simon, you'll be on #nipplewatch if she stands up, okay? He looks horrified. But in all seriousness, we have to. Oh, thank you. In here? Oh, no, don't put your leg there. Okay, now that's a little bit X-rated. But if she opens that leg again, we're going to go and have a look. I want to know her secrets. But if she has given birth and she's got cubs, it's most likely she'll keep them stashed away in a natal den, at least for... Oh. They're covered in sand. That's why they look bizarre. It's very, very prominent And the fact that they're covered in sand makes me think that they might be wet. This is all very good news, everyone. Thank you for being so obliging, Tima. So yes, she would keep them stashed at least for 4 to 6 weeks, let's say. Anywhere in that region. It wouldn't be before 6 weeks, I don't think. Even although her mother is the matriarch, that wouldn't really matter to the safety of the cub. Shimbulu and Gwazi, they're all boisterous, big and boisterous. Even Corky's daughter now, she's getting really, really boisterous. She's adventurous, she's fierce, she's curious. And any small little cub could get injured. At least June's cub now has been integrated, introduced, is a lot more mobile than I thought it was. But a cub younger than 4 weeks would not get introduced to a communal den like this. It's far too busy. Far too much wrestling and games for a small little cub. If any of you expert hyena ideas are watching, please do let me know if you think this is Intima. #WildEarth @FC. Get that name, but absolutely not. No, they hunt, and they're remarkable hunters. Quite similar to wild dogs in that they course. They hunt by coursing, so they sort of run, try to exhaust their prey or wait till their prey falls on the ground and trips up. They may try to bite at their prey as it's running. They're very similar to wild dogs in that respect. They're not built the same. They're not part of the Canidae family, but they can hunt, and they're remarkable at it, especially when you have an area like the Masai Mara, which is very open, and you're able to see for miles, as many of you know, and therefore you really can, hello, you really can follow the hyenas when they're hunting. The more hyenas, the bigger prey they can take down, and there's hyenas in a special area somewhere that have been known to take down very large prey. They're not scared. If there's enough of them, they've got extremely powerful jaws. They just need to bite at a leg, and that leg could snap in half, which would mean the prey would, of course, fall to the ground. But yes, they do scavenge too. Opportunistic, why not? If it means they win and they end up with a free meal, humans would do the exact same. So they have a terrible reputation for scavenging, which is fine, because scavenging is actually really important in the ecosystem. It's not a bad thing. But they aren't entirely recognized for their hunting abilities. They're also quick. Just like wild dogs, they will kill their prey really quickly, whereas the cats take a little bit longer. Okay, I'm going to sit here and savor every moment, and we're going to send you guys across to Swallow.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still sitting with the cheetah mother with 3 cubs. She's just lifted her head and she's staring again into the distance, watching Springbok moving, still using the cover of a shade as well as a bright light from behind. Oh, here's something happening. We just want to see what's happening over here. She's moving. She's spotted something, most likely something that came into the picture which we can't see at the moment. So we're just going to give her the advantage of moving without disturbing her and giving away her position, or without alerting the other animals or distracting them. Here we go. We were asked earlier in the show what's the difference between a male and a female. You can see with the size of this female, although she's fairly large, she's pretty small compared to that of the male, and the skull or the head being much smaller. So these little 3 guys, they know it's time to fall behind, that they can't give away mom's game. Otherwise it means that they end up without a meal. One of the things that I really find fascinating is those little black markings behind the ears. Those are just methods that they can use to keep track of mom, and that mom can keep track of them. Quite often these little black markings are also used to express mood amongst cats. When a cat in general is annoyed, they'll turn their ears towards you, and they will then turn the black markings so that they can show you that they're annoyed. This is often accompanied by hissing or growling, depending on the species of cat. Also sometimes baring of teeth, which is an additional sign combined with tails that are swag from side to side that says it's time to back off. So we're just going to keep the camera on these three little guys. If Mom is successful, they will automatically run forward towards where she is. Just got a shot back on her. She's still staring at something there in the distance. So exciting to actually sit and watch them here, and you know that although they've got a 50% success rate when it comes to hunting, things can very, very easily go wrong. And Springbok itself is an incredibly fast antelope. It's probably the second fastest antelope after Tsesebe. Good afternoon, Leslie. And to answer your question with regards to king cheetahs, we don't have king cheetahs. King cheetahs are actually very rare. And most of the king cheetahs that is found is actually programs where they've bred them in the past. Historically, they were only encountered within the central part of the Kruger National Park, within the region of Satara. And as far as I remember, it's been quite a while since a true wild king cheetah has been seen in the wild. So if you do look at king cheetah, or the pictures that I have seen from them in the past, they tend to be larger and overall darker in coloration compared to the cheetahs that we see over here. Just while we're watching the cubs again as well for a moment, just something interesting about this type of environment and the environment of Kruger National Park, which we have in the eastern half of South Africa. As you can notice, we're much more wooded compared to that of East Africa's Serengeti, which is open grass plains. And one of the things that they find is that there's a far greater success rate for cub survival within these areas in South Africa compared to East Africa Serengeti plains, purely because most of those poor little cheetahs fall victim to larger predators who will immediately kill them to outcompete them, the cheetahs, and preventing them from taking the same food as that they do. So we see a lot of predators interacting in that way. Lion will kill hyena, hyena will kill lion cubs, leopard will kill the cubs of others. We'll also notice that the poor cheetah is the one that's right at the bottom of the pecking order.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. all the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a Wild Earth Explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
And the lions are still sleeping. You can see a few heads that are up in the background there now. We actually just had a knob-billed duck walk through the lions here, and they took off, and as he took off, they all lifted their heads. This young male that just came over to that white female. So if you tuned in this morning, you'll know that when we left them, they were all in the riverbed. Now they've just moved up to the bank, and I'm sure as it heated up today, they probably just they were looking for shade and shelter on the banks of the riviera under the shrubs and big trees. And as it started cooling down again this afternoon, they moved out into the clearing again. They're right next to a little water hole that you can see in the back there. That's also where they were drinking this morning, and not too far from where they had that wildebeest carcass that they were finishing off this morning. So really conserving their energy for the night ahead. We're going to quickly send you over back to Tswalu.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still with the female cheetah, and the cubs have just fallen behind now. And there she goes. She's seen a springbok and she's in full run. And let's give her the opportunity to see if she gets one. We're just going to follow, guys. We might not be in have visual for a moment or two, but let's see what happens. Whoa, it's amazing how quick she is. All these springbok has now scattered in a number of different directions, and that's normally a strategy just to confuse her even further. But let's see if we can find her, because it's so quick, and see if she did manage to take down one of these. If she has, the cubs will most likely pick up on it very quickly, and then they will start following. So just in case she has brought down one of these springbok, I just would like to warn our sensitive viewers that it might be quite disturbing in watching the scene, and that it might be to your benefit of turning either way for that moment. It looks like if she has taken one down. We're just going to go a little bit forward, position the vehicle and see what's happened. I'm just going to give her a lot of space so that we don't make her nervous during this period of time. Okay, there she is. Let me just have a look through the binoculars. Let's see what's happened. Yes, and she's got a springbok that she's brought down. Now, unlike lions that have got very sharp piercing teeth and very large teeth, she's got fairly small jaws, and her teeth almost works like a clamp. And she's busy suffocating that impala now. And at the same time, once she's managed to kill it, she's then going to start having to take a short little break, take a breather, and then only will she be able to start feeding. So generally feeding is also quite quick when they do start eating, as that they would like to pile away as much food as possible before any other predators pick up on that they've made a kill. There's a number of springbok in the distance still watching, keeping a wakeful eye over her, seeing what she's doing. It's always best to just keep your eyes open and on the predator. So then there's no more element of surprise, and you're not going to get caught off guard. Although she's already has one. We're just going to give it a little bit more time, and then we will reposition the vehicle. Let's just give her space so that she can breathe, as well as let the little ones catch up with her. Wow, this is so exciting. If I have to think of it in terms of cheetah kills, this is maybe my 9th cheetah kill that I've seen in our almost 21-year guiding career. And I'm always amazed about how fast they can run. Springbok that's alarming in the distance there. Once again, it just also proves that patience is key when it is viewing animals. Quite often this is a type of sighting that guests would like to see. A lot of guests will come to specifically to see or wanting to see a kill. But as mentioned earlier, it's not something that we often see happening. Catching her breath now. It's beyond amazing. Lena, that was very fast. That still amazes me about how fast they are, how fast they change from direction, how quickly and how agile these springbok are as well, and how quickly they can change from direction and how quickly she actually has to make that decision on which one she has to take. As mentioned in one of the earlier programs, quite often with springbok, they will actually perform a pronking behavior or a stot where they will pronk in an upright position, which is one of the theories is that it shows your physical fitness or your athletic ability in that case. And that quite often shows up individuals with injuries. And quite often it's an individual with an injury or weakness, which is then targeted by the predator. I think the springbok has decided it's now time to move off. Jerome, I'm not 100% sure. We'll see what happens now, but normally they're not far behind her. And then they normally come in very quickly. So I'm quite surprised they haven't arrived yet. We're just going to reposition the vehicle so we can get a better view on her. We can now safely say that the prey animal, the springbok, has been killed by suffocation, and that we can, without disturbing her, move around the vehicle, around the sighting. Can't see the cubs yet. So we're just going to reposition the vehicle. Hopefully the cubs will be here soon. And in the meanwhile, we're handing you over to MARNA.
Sure, I kind of wish something would walk past here to get these lions off. They are all still asleep. But even if something did walk past here, I don't think they would pay any attention to it, seeing as all of them have full bellies, as you can see on that female there. Like I was saying earlier, they have been conserving their energy for most of the day. So now that it's starting to get cooler and darker, this is the time that they start moving around. You can see those females starting to groom themselves. That's usually a good sign. Sign that they might be getting up soon. We saw one of the Ross males actually also joining the pride. He's just off to the right there, but he came in and flopped down again. He's just laying behind a bush in the back there. There he is. Also fast asleep again. Alright, we're going to stick with them for a little while longer and we'll send you over to Pinda.
Welcome back everyone to and Beyond Pinda, and we had a slow puncture. Luckily we were close to the lodge, so we raced back and put some air in our tires, and we came back and there's a whole bunch of giraffe that are actually moving away now, but also these 5 zebras that have been following the leopard, and they've actually chased it now into that thicket. I can't see the leopard, but the last place that I did see it, there's a big tree right in the middle of that thicket, and right at the... You got it? Okay, cool. Okay. So, yeah, I can't see it through my binoculars, but she's lying right there, and she's not going to go anywhere. You can see how those zebras are focused on her. If she had to leave that thicket, the zebras would chase her again. So she did trot a little bit away from them when she was still out in the open. She trotted away from them and when they were coming closer. And now she's just at the bottom of that tree, actually waiting for the zebras to move away. If you can see the eyes shining at the bottom of the tree there, that's the leopard. Okay, brilliant. So those are the leopard's eyes. So she is just waiting for those zebras to move away. It's quite crazy, but you would think zebras would be on the menu for leopards, and a zebra foal certainly would be, but these big adult zebras, way too big and powerful for a leopard, and they will actually try, especially when there's a group of them like this, they will try to kill a leopard because of the fact that it's a potential threat to but they don't know that that's a adult leopard. They might also think it's a young leopard, and so they could think that this leopard is going to get bigger and potentially a threat. So whenever they have the upper hand, they will make use of that advantage. But the zebras almost don't want to move away. They're quite keen to see what's going to happen with the leopard, if the leopard's going to come out or not. See, they also feel intimidated by the fact that the leopard is lying down there and it's not running away anymore. Because the leopard's standing its ground, it feels quite comfortable inside that thicket, so it's standing its ground. Because if the zebras do go any closer, it's got that big tree that it can go up quickly. And we are a bit far away, but I'm sure that the leopard is hissing, making sure that the zebras stay away from her. And they motivate each other. You see how one will go closer, then the next one will just edge just a little bit closer. Maybe another one will come and take one step closer. Then they will all get away again. And then the whole process starts over. What I think is happening, so from on the left of your screen, the wind is coming from left of screen to right, and further left out of your picture at the moment there's a herd of impalas that she's been towards. So we're not going to go anywhere, but I'm going to send you across to have a look at some cheetah cubs.
Welcome back. So our question has just been answered. She actually did call them and they came straight over to her. So I just gave it some thought, and this is the first time that I've actually ever seen a female cheetah with cubs bringing down a prey animal. So far it's always just been the males that I've seen taking prey animals down. Going to see what they get up to. I'm not sure if their mouths are strong enough to open that carcass. I think Mom is just still taking a breather, recovering from all that energy that she spent, and then from there she'll most likely open the carcass for them. So generally we find that cheetahs are often trailed by animals such as jackal. Fortunately, there's no jackal around the area at the moment. Quite often we also see them chasing jackals away. And jackals have the ability of creating quite a lot of pandemonium when they're in the area. They'll immediately start alarm calling, potentially attracting the attention of other predators in the hope that they can scavenge from the scraps. You can still see how heavily the female is panting. Good afternoon, Nathan, and welcome to the show. With regards to your question on how often do they need to eat, it's quite a difficult question to answer, but I'm pretty sure that they can't go for a few days without food. So one of the things that I did learn in the past is that if I don't have a meal for today and they need a certain amount of equivalent of food, by the next day that will double up in value, and that value what has been attained by the second day, say for example, should it be 3 kilograms maximum meat that they need, will become 6, and by the third day it will turn into 12 kilograms of meat that they require to sustain themselves. Interesting to watch them, how keen they are in trying to open the carcass. Most of the springbok has now moved off. They're standing approximately 300, 400 meters away from us, but you might still hear them alarm calling in the background. It's quite interesting to watch these young little cubs, how instinct immediately kicks in, and automatically they're going for the throat area. Good afternoon and welcome to the show, Rio. They're definitely going to leave them at some point. So normally here by 22 months of age, but it can be as young as 12 months of age that they can leave them. So we find that the mom will then eventually chase them off, or they'll move off and they'll form their own small little group. They'll then most likely be forced out of the area by adults, quite often what we find, so that they disperse into other areas to prevent that there's interbreeding from taking place. And mom will most likely fall pregnant very shortly after that, or before that, if they leave. And then she will commit herself to raising the next litter. These little guys are getting quite impatient now, trying to see what they can do. Probably really hoping already, hey mom, can't you just come and open this for us? We're hungry. It's also quite amazing to see how strong they are for their size, and they can already lift up the neck. One of the things that I find particularly interesting with cheetah is that they don't need to go and drink. So quite often they will get sufficient amounts of moisture by lapping up fluids from the cavity of the animal that they have killed. When there is sufficient groundwater around and it's in close proximity, they will normally go and drink. Just going to sit and wait here for mom. Hopefully she's going to come and open this carcass very soon. But in the meanwhile, we're just going to hand you over to Pinda.
Sorry about that. Pinda, I'm sure, will be back very soon. Now, it's not the best views of our hyena clan. They're quite far off in the distance, near Ribbon's throne, I like to call it. But I've sat here patiently because this is the first time... Oh, and Tima, you're having a back scratch, a belly roll. This is the first time I've had a good look at Antima. Now, I wasn't sure if she'd given birth or not, and I'm still not sure, of course. Oh, this is interesting. Are you going to have a sniff? Smelling the nipples. Because it's the first time we've had a good look at her. And to me, those nipples looked wet. They looked moist. The ground is bone dry. The heat we've had today has just dried almost everything up. And I wonder if she really is lactating now and she has given birth. Of course, I'm just speculating, which is something you shouldn't really do. But it's probably confirmation biased. I'm just excited. This will be Antima's first litter. And Antima is Ribbon's daughter. So this will add to the sort of top of the hierarchy. Oh, delightful. I'm just really intrigued to see where she goes. We may not be able to follow her too much in the dark, but it would be interesting to see if she pops to one of the other dens or where she heads. It's so good to see her looking like that. It's very difficult to tell when a hyena is pregnant as well, because normally they're just so bulbous and full all the time. But it's risky for a mother. 60% of cubs can suffocate during birth, during the birthing process. And this is Antima's first time. It'll be her first litter. But she's either definitely pregnant or given birth for sure. I wonder where she's going to go. Hello, Antima. I wonder if she's going to pop her head in the den. Michael, believe it or not, they actually have spots. Their spot pattern is already very pronounced. It's just that the rest of the hair surrounding the spots is very, very dark. If you look at a hyena cub really closely, at about even just 6 weeks, you'll be able to see there definitely is a spot pattern, and it's just not visible to us. It's only when the rest of the hair starts to lighten that you will see the spot pattern really emerge. And the spot patterns, they are pretty much from birth, and it stays the same throughout the entire lifetime. From sort of juvenile, sub-adult, all the way through to adult. It doesn't change. Oh, Antima, you've gone flat again. Wasn't what I was hoping for. But the spots are always there. They're always present. It's just the cub is born really dark. I mean, they're stashed away in dens for a long time, so that's possibly the reason why they are so dark. And they look really nothing like the adult. The sounds of this evening are just incredible. The frogs, the insects. I don't hear any more birds. But the chorus is just so loud. I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer just in case Antima decides to get up once more.
Thanks, Lauren. So I have to leave Thandi heading straight north across into Torchwood property where I couldn't follow. So she walked in the middle of the river, and it's still a little bit of a waters in that river, but she's moving north. So I said, maybe I believe that she's moving back to maybe her cub, because she was not actually showing any sign of feeding on that scrub hare. She carried on with her on her mouth. So there's a good chance maybe, you know, tomorrow we'll look around and hopefully she will be wherever she are. She will probably make her way into a dry land where everybody can able to access into her. Because there, even we had a chance of following, there wouldn't be any chance for us to get in there because it's wet. So along that river, it's very wet. So I decided to give it a little bit of a break. So, and then tomorrow morning, I think everyone will be out there just to hoping to locate her, probably maybe with her cub or alone, where scrub hair won't actually last long. If she's gonna take it back to the cub, and the cub will take care of it, and then probably she's gonna finish it off. Then she's gonna be looking for another hunter again, or she's gonna decide to stick with a young one until maybe the next morning, which is tomorrow. So yeah, that was the update about the Thandi. So let's hope for tomorrow she comes out for us.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still sitting with the cheetah cubs and the mother. Mother is still taking a break from all the hard work that she's just performed. We also had a wildebeest that came to have a little bit of an inspection to see what's going on. Provided us with a few snorts, just to alert everybody that he is aware of their presence as well. So hopefully the female will get up very soon and start opening up the carcass for them. One of the most amazing things for me about this hunt was to actually witness how patient she was and skillful at the same time. It's definitely one of my favorite drives in a very long time. Just to come back as well, it was amazing to watch how she was using the terrain in her favor, how she was using vegetation and the combination of shade, as well as a bright sun from behind in her favor to stalk very close by to the springbok. At the moment, these cubs are trying their very best still to open it. Sometimes it looks more like they're busy playing. So most likely it is a case where they are learning important adult skills which they're going to need very soon to be able to become successful hunters when they turn to adults. What excites me even more about this hunt is knowing that these little guys are going to be fed and that there's a very good chance that they are going to reach adulthood. And that is such an important thing for us to see these cheetahs reaching adulthood, especially seeing that we've got less than 5,500 of them left throughout Africa and the world. They really are right in terms of saying that they are very cute. I also find them incredibly cute. But it's such a wonderful reminder that from the end of the day, they're wild animals, they're predators, and they're designed for one thing, and that's to kill. Seems as if Mom is just going to get up. Well, we would just like to thank everybody for joining us at Wild Earth. We hope to see you tomorrow morning at 5:30 Central African Time to join us again on our very next adventure.
of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve, here where we're sitting with Blacksmith Lapwing this morning, having the oral chat about and so welcome aboard to your very own safari life through African bush. So there we go. Good morning again everyone. So we come